So, what's the deal about Donald Trump? Rumor has it he's the President of the United States. No big deal, right? I mean, he's barely been on office like 2 weeks. Well, think again, my dear ignorant friend. Here's a quick summary of the highlights of what Donald Trump has done so far. Day 1. Obamacare. Despite the good memes, within hours of inauguration, Trump took his first step toward appealing the Affordable Care Act, signing an executive order calling the government agencies to ease the burden of the policy. Trump's order asked federal agencies to prepare to afford the states more flexibility and control to create a more free and open health market. Homeowners insurance. The new president also suspended a scheduled insurance rate cut for homeowners, which had been set by Barack Obama's government. The cut would have reduced annual insurance premiums for new Federal Housing Administration loans by 25 basis points from 0.85 to 0.60. Day 3. Abortion. Trump signed a presidential memorandum reviving a rule that prevents U.S. funds from going to certain health charities around the world that counsel on abortions. Known as Mexico City's policy, it was the first instituted by former President Ronald Reagan in 1984 and has been on and off the books ever since. Trump signed an executive order to ease U.S. fiscal regulations in the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010, which was responsible to the financial crisis and the Great Recession that Trump's administration called overreaching. Day 7. Military strength. Trump signed an executive order to provide new resources and equipment to strengthen the U.S. military. The order promises to rebuild America's armed forces and upgrade national global security as part of the strategy that dictates peace through strength. The order directs Defense Secretary James Mattis to assess the country's military and nuclear capabilities. Day 8. National Security Council. Trump reorganized the council, adding his chief strategist, Steve Bannon. The council is a panel of officials, most of them cabinet level, who work with the president to determine the best course of action on security issues. Day 13. Wall Street regulation. Trump signed an executive order to ease U.S. fiscal regulations in the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010, which was responsible for the financial crisis and Great Recession that Trump's administration called overreaching. Wow, that guy sure loves executive orders. But now that we tackled those topics, let's put them aside and focus more on the hot topic. This is tonight's special. I'm here with Miss Evelyn Rivera, who is an historian from Mexico City. Lucky for you, my dear viewer, that person is me. My name is Evelyn Rivera. Welcome to The Hot Stuff. I'm here alongside my dear historian friend Luis Treviño, and together we're going to tackle 4 topics of controversy. Okay, so what's happening with the Muslim ban? That you might wonder. According to the official statement regarding the recent executive order, it brings suspension to the U.S. refugee admission program for 120 days. But that's not it. It also has an indefinite ban on Syrian refugees, which also has a 90-day visa suspension for anyone arriving from the 7 Muslim-majority countries, which are Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Oh wow. Oh, I'm sure this isn't going to grab any attention of the terrorists towards America. I mean, not at all. It's not like you labeled America Islamophobic or anything, right? Oh, but of course he had to justify his actions by releasing this statement on Facebook, which I quote: "To be clear, this is not a Muslim ban, as the media is falsely reporting. This is not about religion, this is about terror and keeping our country safe." End quote. Oh, Mr. Trump, this is always going to be about religion with you. This is always going to be about sex with you. This is always going to be about nationality with you. Why can't you be like Franklin Roosevelt when he said, quote, remember always, that all of us, and you and I especially, are descended from immigrants and revolutionists, end quote. Why can't you be like Lázaro Cárdenas when he was fighting in the Mexican Revolution? He was told to kill a priest, but he was aware of the fact that most Mexican people were very devoted Catholics, and even though his point of view was different to what he was thinking, he always knew how to deal with this issue, proving religious tolerance.
End of the era of multinational trade agreements. He issued a note to withdraw from the peace partnership as he believes that it is, and I quote, a potential disaster for our country. Instead, he said he would negotiate fair bilateral trade deals that bring jobs and industry back. When it comes to Cárdenas and his relation to other countries, a quote from a book named Mexico between Hitler and Roosevelt sums it up pretty well. Mexican diplomats were better skilled in international negotiations, more realistic in the evaluation of historical contexts, and more creative in situations than their European and USA counterparts. As war approached, the author argues that Mexico used the perception of the great power to its advantage. Lázaro Cárdenas attempted to secure the best possible scenario for Mexico, both domestically and internationally, without having to commit Mexico to either side of the conflict for as long as possible. Roosevelt believed that the nation's economic flaws were largely homegrown. Roosevelt essentially embraced a form of economic nationalism and committed the United States to solving the Depression on its own, not affecting or blaming any other countries in the process. On the 24th, he signed executive orders that would make it possible to complete the Dakota Access and restart the process of the construction of the Keystone XL oil pipeline from Canada, even though he clearly knew that this would affect Brock Sioux tribe, who live on a reservation near the area of the pipeline construction. This will damage the way the tribe lives, since it will damage the water supply. Something quote-unquote similar to this relating to Cárdenas would be the oil expropriation, but instead of damaging people, he actually tried to help. Like Cárdenas, Roosevelt was busy helping to protect his people during the Second World War.
The Trump Wall. The Trump Wall, who has inspired millions of memes. We all know Trump wants to keep the rapist, drug dealers, Mexicans out of the United States, amongst other immigrants. But how exactly does he plan to pay for the wall? Well, Trump is not going to pay the wall per se because he says, quote, Mexico is going to pay for the wall, end of quote. But we all know we're not going to pay for the wall, or do we? Well, as for today, there's no official statement saying how Mexico is going to pay for the wall, but here are the three most interesting theories. Mr. Trump's spokesman, Sean Spicer, said that on the 26th of January, the president wanted a 20% tax on Mexican imports to pay for the wall, although he later added that it was one of the several opinions still being considered. Quote, by doing it that way, we can do $10 billion a year and easily pay for the wall, just through the mechanism alone. End of quote. Remittances. There's two possibilities here. The first one being that President Trump could try to use the laws aimed at preventing money laundering to halt Mexicans working in the US from wiring money to families back home. The second option is to tax the remittances. But Mexicans affected by the remittances may simply avoid using the wire companies and find undocumented third parties to transfer the cash. Increasing travel visa and border crossing fees. Targeting countries that have a bad record on illegal immigration, including Mexico, for a higher visa fees would be popular among many Republicans. Trump doesn't realize the missed opportunity of working with immigrants. It's evident that he forgot the Tratado de Bracero made between Presidents Lázaro Cárdenas and Franklin Roosevelt. In this treaty, there was an economic and social uprising brought by the Great Depression and the World War II, which forced the U.S. to search for workers who could fulfill their railroad necessities when the American workers were out fighting in the war. And who was there ready to give a working hand to the Americans? The Mexicans. Fun fact, this is where the American dream started to widespread through Mexico. My only hope, and even dare to say, the hopes of every good Mexican and American citizen, is to do what Franklin D. Roosevelt told us in 1943. Quote, I hope that the days to come, every Mexican and every American president will feel at liberty to visit each other just as neighbors visit each other, just as neighbors talk things over and get to know each other better. End of quote.
In conclusion, I believe that President Trump has made pretty clear what he wants. He wants to, as he so eloquently puts, sarcastic, make America great again, even though he stomps on his own people and pushes away other countries.
Not to mention he's like a big bully.
His way of thinking and the way he does things may bring an untimely end to the newest president of the United States of America.
Couldn't have said that better. Well, everybody, thanks for watching us. We know that the comments here are harsh, but that's for us to say and for you to think. Thank you very much, and have a nice night. Goodbye.